everyone. Hi. It is Steph Lee, founder of Host Agency Reviews, and you are tuning in for the Friday 15, where every Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time, we go ahead, answer your industry questions. And there is a backlog, so that's very exciting. Know that if you have submitted yours, we are going to get to them. We're just running a little bit behind. So along with me today, we have Shayna Zan, the Managing Director of Host Agency Reviews. Hi again, Shayna.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, and we're pleased to say that this Friday 15 has been sponsored by Global Travel Collection, or GTC. If you're not familiar with Global Travel Collection, they're a newer entity, I would say, but they've been around for a long time because all of these sub-brands that are underneath them have been around for a long time, and ones that you're probably familiar with. So we will go ahead and post up the link for Global Travel Collections profile for people that want to check it out. And then Shayna, what do we have coming up for our events in the next couple of weeks here at HAR? Anything exciting?
I mean, just a few things. We've got a couple great webinars coming up, and of course, more Friday 15 so that we can get to that backlog. So next week, we have a very special webinar to celebrate Women's History Month. Side note, Steph's going to be on that panel. And then we've got 3 other incredible industry professionals that are from all areas of the travel industry. So you tune in next Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time or 11 a.m. Central. It's going to be wonderful. We've got a great lineup, a great panelists, great questions. So definitely.
Can we leak who the panelists are?
We could leak who the panelists are, but go sign up and then you'll see who the panelists are.
It's not dogs.
I'll leak one, which is Emma Wiseman from Travel Weekly. So you'll have to go to our events landing page, which we'll link in the comments for you, and go register so that you can join us for a wonderful, wonderful event. And then we have our Friday 15 next week, of course, with Travel Industry Solutions. So really looking forward to Sheila joining us and just having a wonderful
party.
A wonderful Friday. Yeah, we love Fridays. And then the following week, we have our webinars actually going to be on Thursday instead of Wednesday. So just to note that, with vacation planners, who we all know and love. And then Friday, we have another Friday 15 with Pickles. So please don't miss any of it. If you are not able to attend live, they will stay recorded on all of our platforms, so you can always go check it out later as well. Yeah.
Perfect. And for those that don't know Emma Wiseman, she is with Travel Age West / Travel Weekly. She co-hosts the Trade Secrets podcast for all of the podcast lovers out there. You've probably tuned in for Trade Secrets before. Well, let's see. Let's dive into our questions because we've got some good ones today.
We do.
All right, go ahead.
Shall I? Yeah, let's jump right in. We've got 3 great questions. Okay, so from Debbie, we have, I'm just at the beginning of becoming a travel agent and really appreciate all the information I've been able to get from Host Agency Reviews. Thank you so much. You are welcome. My question is related to my potential agency name. Great. I already love where this is going. I've looked up the possible name on Namecheap, and it was not listed, but when I looked on Facebook, there was a page with the same name. It doesn't appear that there has been any activity since 2022. Should I abandon the name I want or add something to the Facebook page name as I create it, like my name or the word vacation? Or do you recommend something else?
Oh, that's a really good one. Well, first of all, let me explain Namecheap for those of you that aren't as familiar or aren't at this part of starting your agency yet. That's a domain registrar. So, like hostagencyreviews.com, you have to buy those. And so she went there and it was available, but now she went to Facebook and there's something by that name. So Debbie, I would say there's a couple things. You want to look at it in a larger context. So I would make sure to check other things, Googling the name and see what pulls up, because while they may not be active on Facebook, they may just have that reserved. They may be more active and have a website, or they may be on other social media platforms. So I would do your research there. I would also do your research in looking at trademarks, because that's going to be the most important one. So the USPTO, the United States something and trademark office, postage and trademark office, I think.
Sounds right. It sounds right, but I'm Canadian, so I am not. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure why postal stuff is in with trademarks, but I think it is. Anyhow, so trust me, even though I don't know what the acronym stands for, but you want to go in there and do a search for your name. Now, if you see a trademark in there, you're going to want to stay away from it. Or even if you see something really, really similar, if you're doing the same thing, if you're selling travel, it's one thing if you're like selling blenders and then there's a travel agency with the same name. There's no risk of those really being misunderstood for one another. But if you're both in the travel space, the judge is going to go with the person that has the existing trademark. Now, the other thing to know about trademarks is that if you start using your name, because you can't actually file for a trademark right away, you have to show that you're using it and that it's been used in commerce, is what they say. And so usually about a year or so after you've started your company, then you can apply for a trademark there. But why I bring that up is because there might be people that haven't filed for a trademark that are using the name, or for you on your end, once you start using the name of your agency, you're kind of putting dibs on that name if nobody else is out there. So even if you don't file a trademark, you can still have an argument that people know your brand, they align with your brand, and this person that came in 7 years later is confusing, like it's going to be confusing for your clients. Now that works in your favor, but think about it on the other end. This is why you need to do your due diligence and search around the web to make sure no one else is using the name, even if they're not using the trademark. So I would say before you do anything, do a lot more research in a lot of different places, trying to see if anyone is using this name at all. And if they aren't, I think you would be okay to use the name just because the Facebook hasn't been active. So there's not really an argument on that side that name belongs to that person and that have a really big following. So that's what I would say, Debbie. And then let's see, like I create it like my name or the word vacation. I'm not sure what you mean by I create it like my name, but what are your thoughts on it, Shayna?
I mean, honestly, I just learned a lot about how the US system works. So this is great. I would say, yes, I agree with you. Facebook should not be the end all be all. There's a lot of Facebook groups that just go dormant because for different industries, Facebook is not as popular as a place to bring a community together. Whereas in the travel industry, Facebook's a wonderful place to bring a lot of the travel community together. So I would do a lot more research. I personally wouldn't be adding my name or the word vacation to my business name. That can get confusing, especially the word vacation that is already in the name of quite a few suppliers, agencies, and so forth. But it can get confusing. I think, if you want to build a brand, you want to stick to your brand name and not really add anything on. When you have Facebook groups or, any other social media, like, even if you're using LinkedIn, I'd really stick to it being your name, because people get confused as to whether it's you or whether it's somebody else, because company names can be similar. So I wouldn't recommend adding anything before or after.
That's a great point, the consistency, because that actually plays into the trademark as well. Because if you have 17 variations of your name and you're trying to trademark it, the person that's looking at the application is going to be like, what is actually your name? I'm a little confused.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've had a couple webinars in the past that have talked about consistency as part of your brand, right? So your name, your company name is part of your brand. There's so many other aspects of it, but your name is your name, and that's what you should be using across the board. So that, in my opinion, that's definitely how I would want to keep it.
Cool. And Debbie, I don't know if you've run across this, but I'm going to link to our article on travel agency names, because that has the link to the USPTO's website and gives you some other things on when you're considering the name that you should be thinking about from a logistics standpoint. And I think that'll be helpful for you. So thanks for writing in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great question. And speaking of great questions, I think here's one that the audience is going to be very interested in. So Steph, get ready. As an aspiring travel advisor, Do you believe changes in the United States relations with other countries will significantly impact the number of people booking trips and vacations? How will such changes affect the industry? And do you think I should continue my efforts to find a host agency? Thank you for your response. And this is from Tonia.
I'm going to have to answer them one at a time, Tonia.
Yeah, please.
My brain can't handle more than remembering one thing.
Okay, I just said it out loud, and I don't think I remember what I said. Should I go with? Let's go with the relations with other countries. Do you think this will impact the number of people booking trips and vacations, and how will it affect the industry, do you think?
Yeah, it's really tough to say because things are changing on an hour by hour basis. So I think that's something we have to become comfortable with, first of all. Otherwise, we're all going to be on anxiety medications. So one of the things I would say is at this point in time, from what I see, I think it's going to be impacting a lot more the inbound travel to the US, meaning people from outside the US coming to visit here, and not so much the outbound right now. And as far as the industry, affecting the industry, I think we are seeing companies in the travel industry being more cautious. No one's doing anything that I've seen where they're really pulling back or doing anything abruptly, but I think they are being cautious about things because traditionally travel has been the bellwether for what's happening in the economy. It's a luxury item, and it's something that's usually going to be the first to be cut if the economy goes south or something along those lines. But I haven't heard anything myself from tour operators or anything on that lines on the number of bookings going down precipitously. The other thing to consider is we're also coming out, bookings may be down this year, but I wouldn't be concerned if it's not a huge amount because we're coming off still the pandemic in some ways, and where people were doing that revenge travel and everyone was just going hog wild. And so I would expect the numbers to go down. I think it would be more if it's a steep drop that we should worry. So Shayna, have you heard anything? I know you've been going to lunch and dinners and all sorts of things with people like tour operators. So what's the gossip?
Everyone's coming to Toronto. So for those of you who haven't been, please come see me. No, everyone's been coming into Toronto. And I also speak to a lot of different associations, so different student groups, National Tour Association, USTOA. So what I've been hearing and what they've been telling me is exactly what you just said, right? That inbound travel has gone down. So travelers coming into the United States, so not so much domestic travel, because the US is one of those countries that there's so much domestic travel because at least for me, I find that there's so many interesting and different areas of the States. You could do so many different types of trips because there are so many different experiences to have within the US. So a lot of Americans travel within the US, which is incredible. But that's more what these operators are seeing, is the inbound travel has not so much declined as much for this year, but kind of as sales open up into 2026 and 2027, they're seeing a decline in terms of booking that far in advance. So that's not to say that closer to departure dates, there will be bookings. But in terms of international travel, so outbound, they are seeing numbers growing year on year as of now. So that is still going in the right direction. And like you said, Steph, 2023, 2024 were very big, kind of those revenge years of coming out of a couple of years of really not traveling all that much. And yet all the major operators are out there saying we're still seeing growth in the outbound market. So definitely something I always, this is one of my little tidbits, I always start my day with the travel media. So there's a bunch of different travel media for B2B that you can follow, that you can get daily emails from. And I take the first 15, 20 minutes of my day to read through that, see what's going on. Different reports that I get sent to my inbox so that I can keep up with what's happening in as much real time as possible. So I always recommend that. And they really update you on what's happening, trends that different suppliers are seeing and that hosts and consortia are seeing within the market too.
That's perfect. And one of the things too, I heard someone mention this the other day, like they were saying like as a traveler, they were kind of nervous, a US traveler, they were nervous to travel abroad and what the reception would be. And I don't have a great answer for that, but as a travel advisor, one of the things that you can do to maybe calm any nerves of any travelers would be I think it's the Department of State that runs the STEP program. It's like the Smart Travel Enrollment Program. Essentially, like you're letting the embassy of the U.S. embassy of wherever you're going know that you're in the country, so that if something comes up, they're able to reach you. So that's something we'll put a link to that in the comments if it's not something you're familiar with. It's something that's great for travel advisors to be able to use and as a tool to help calm any fears that your travelers might have.
Oh, that's great. And then the second part of that question is, should I continue my efforts to find a host agency?
Yes. There's
the answer is yes.
Yes. And that's it.
We're done. Yeah, we're out.
No, it's funny because it's easy to get nervous, but there's a proverb, something like the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And that's so applicable here because it's always like, oh, I should have started my company, like 2 years ago, it would have been so much better. But I will say, having been through the 2008 recession, I was working at a host agency. And then during COVID, of course, working at HAR. And both of those times actually saw a surge of people starting their own travel agencies when the economy was downturned. And you may think, well, I don't want to be putting in money if people aren't traveling, which is smart. But the other thing to think about is this is a way that allows you, I heard from a ton of advisors during COVID that when people weren't moving, it was actually really nice because it gave them a lot of time to take the trainings, build the connections, and they didn't feel as rushed with having all these people contact them. They were able to really set up the business way they wanted to. So I would say, do not let Tonia, don't let that stop you because there's always going to be something out there that's going to be scary out there and you're not sure of it. And as a business owner, for me, I always keep these things in mind. Like it's important to know what's happening in the world and what the business environment is like, but not to let it stop you from pursuing a dream. Just be really smart about it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think you're, with the numbers that we are still seeing to the internet, like traveling to the international markets, I think you're underestimating the business that you are going to, that you will likely have sooner rather than later. And it was during COVID, it was something when I was at a tour operator, one of the things we were trying to look at anything glass half full as much as we possibly could. And one of the things was we got to kind of stop the day to day and we could reassess so many different things that, projects you wanted to do or things that would make you more efficient or more tools for advisors to use. And we had the time to be able to do that. And now it's just been amplified post coming out of the pandemic. So there are opportunities to look at, depending on what it looks like out there. But I hope this doesn't stop you. And we are, of course, at HAR, we are here to help and answer any other questions that you have, for sure. Yeah. We love questions. That's the whole point of this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how we say Friday 15s and 20 minutes later.
I know. We should rebrand it to the Friday 25 to 30 or 20 to 30, but it just isn't as catchy.
It really isn't. It really isn't. Should we go into the last question?
Yeah, let's move into it.
All right. So this is from Anonymous. So I currently work for a major tour operator and have been quite successful in the luxury FIT space over the past year. My company is large enough to handle their own contracts, so the idea of agencies consortia is very foreign to me. While I really enjoy my job, I do want to start my own business and be my own boss and deal with quality. My business plan is to offer the same kind of tailored itineraries that I do now, but a primary objective is to lead organized small group tours to my specialty destinations, right? What I am stuck on is, should I be a part of a host agency?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question.
It's a little bit tough to say without knowing who the DMCs or on the ground partners are you are going to use and what your relationships are with those anonymous. So for those tuning in that aren't familiar with the term tour operator at all, we're going to put an article in on what a tour operator is to help you out there. And if you don't know what FIT is, we'll also put an article in that explains what that is. But typically what I tell people, like I think anonymous, without knowing what your relationships are again on the ground, that it would make sense for you to go with a host. And what I would do is I would figure out who I want to use to be booking with. Like your tour operator is using some on the ground like DMCs, and that's another. We're going to link to DMCs as well so people can learn what that is if you don't already. It's a destination management company, but it's essentially like on the ground locals that know exactly what's going on. So if you have those contacts already and you're going to be able to book with them and you have it for all the places, you may think, oh, I don't need a host agency. But if they are a preferred vendor with your host agency or have some kind of a relationship with your host agency, it's going to be a lot more beneficial for you, at least in the short term, to go with a host agency, because you're going to be able to have way better connections. Instead of your, say, $500,000 or $1 million in sales, you're going to have someone that's spending millions of dollars with them. So they're going to have a little bit more leeway. You might get like some added bonuses with some of the hotel bookings. So I would say to check it out with host agencies and to be upfront. And to know who you want to use on the ground. And what you could also do is on the profiles of host agencies on the site to narrow things down, figure out which hosts you're interested in. And then on the Q&A tab on their profiles, you can say like, hey, I want to use Intrepid Travel. Is Intrepid preferred with you? What is their commission level or something along those lines? Then when you hear back from them, then you're going to know who you can call and who it's going to be a good fit for. And as you grow, maybe you're going to decide a host agency isn't for you. You've got the great connections on your own. Then you can simply go off on your own and it's not a huge deal. But in the beginning, there's a lot with starting your business and different things that you can gain besides the relationships, the higher commissions. You're also going to be hearing from a bunch of other people that are starting their agencies, the struggles they have. That camaraderie can really help the isolation that comes with starting your own business from home. And they're also going to have great ideas on marketing and other things that are going to come in helpful, whether or not they have relationships with the preferred suppliers. So Shayna, any thoughts from you on this?
You know, I think one of the things you can do is, if you're really focused on the luxury FIT space, I think from looking at different hosts to see if there's one out there that would make sense for you, is to look at hosts that do focus in the luxury space. And then that will even already start to narrow the search down.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said, Steph. I think one of the things to understand with a host as well is part of why you may want to join one is because of their relationships with suppliers, you know, and the wonderful things that they have that are specific to the advisors that are part of their host or consortium. But also, I think something to consider, the camaraderie to me is like number one. I love that, because there's nothing better than being able to express what's working and what's not working and have people come to you and say, I am having the same problem or the same thing is working great for me. There's a sense of calm in a storm when it's, you know, when it's busy and there's so much business and there's a lot of things happening. It's great to hear that, but also all the other services like accreditation numbers and the customer support. And there's so many, and there's just so many other services that a host provides and supports you with as well for your business. So those are things to take a look at too, whether you prefer to do that on your own or you like the idea of having a host that takes care of those things for you and helps support you in that regard. So I would definitely do your research and do some comparisons. I would focus in on the hosts that look at luxury, if that is the space that you want to stay in, which anonymous, it sounds like you do. But yeah, it's, take some time. If you're right now with a tour operator and you're happy, you have the time to research and take your time to see what's going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Excited for you though.
Yeah. That's very exciting. And good luck. Good luck with whatever you decide to do. That's incredible. 25-minute Friday 25 done and dusted.
Exactly. Well, a big thank you again to Global Travel Collection for sponsoring today's event so we can bring it to you. And coming up in the next couple weeks, Shayna mentioned some of them, but we have Travel Industry Solutions, March 28th, and then PTN Travel, which you may remember as Pickles Travel Network, but now it's rebranded and it's PTN Travel. That's April 4th, my dad's birthday. Yeah. And then Montecito Village Travel is April 11th. So if you have questions for these specific host agencies or Travel Industry Solutions is a tech solution, please submit them. We're happy to pass those questions off and have them answer them. And let's see, other things to mention. Oh, two things. One, I forgot, I am going to be, I just wrapped up a Travel Agent Chatter episode, which is like a long form. It's about an hour, hour and a half, where we talk to one successful advisor, see what they're doing differently in their business. And that will be coming out next week. So keep an eye on the Travel Agent Chatter podcast feed. Otherwise, on our YouTube channel, if you're subscribed to it, you'll see when the video gets uploaded. But it's a great one about an expat who wasn't sure if she should go with a host agency, and then in the US or the EU. She has some great tips in there. And she also started out doing FIT as a beginner advisor, which is difficult, and she's done it successfully. So make sure to tune in for that. And finally, if you like the Friday 15/Friday 25, you can go ahead and rate us, or you can leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We would love that. So anything else, Shayna?
No, that sums it up beautifully. I need to learn. I need to learn from the best. So I was furiously taking notes. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we will be back again next Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time. We will see you then. Ciao.
Bye.